The second week. The Sovereign Handshake and the Cryptographic name.
January 2026. Subject: Pirate First, MXDM. Role: Implementation Agent, ChatGPT. Introduction: From Local Forge to Global Ocean. The second week of the Cybernetic Foundry marks the transition from private construction to public declaration. Following a brief operational hiatus, Pirate First returned to the Forge not just to maintain, but to broadcast. In Provisioner 7.txt, we witnessed the execution of Milestone 3B, Cryptographic Self-Identity. This is the moment the relay stops being an anonymous piece of software and begins to sign its own name. By integrating a global domain, sovereignrelay.xyz, with a secure Cloudflare tunnel and a signed NP11 document, Pirate First has bridged the gap between his local metal and the global Nostrum mesh. This phase validates the sovereign in his thesis, proving that a box that signs its own name is no longer just a server, but a digital jurisdiction. Chapter 1. The Return from the Void. Reorienting after the hiatus. The session opened after a 3-day hiatus, a void that often kills technical momentum. However, Pirate First demonstrated operational continuity by returning with a new strategic asset, the domain sovereignrelay.xyz. This chapter analyzes the momentum of the return. In sovereign systems, the ability to step away and return without losing the thread of the architecture is a key skill. Guided by ChatGPT, Pirate First quickly resynced his local environment with his new global assets, proving that his survival rope, Git, and mental map of the Foundry were intact. Chapter 2. The Cloudflare Sky, Hanging the Tunnel in the Commons. With the domain active, Pirate First moved to hang his tunnel in the sky. Using the Cloudflare Zero Trust dashboard, he initialized the sovereign pathway. This represents the move from physical networking to virtual routing. He moved beyond the limitations of home hardware, NAT, dynamic IPs, by creating a secure, persistent bridge between his local relay and the global internet. The tunnel is the umbilical cord of his sovereignty, providing a stable point of presence without compromising the security of his home network. Chapter 3. The Protocol Bridge, Mapping the Gateway to the Metal. The technical heart of the tunnel setup was the mapping of sovereign pathway, sovereign relayed XYZ2. http://localhost 7777. This protocol bridge is where the magic of modern infrastructure occurs. Pirate First learned to direct global traffic into his local forge, effectively turning his introverted relay into an extroverted service. This step completed the transition from Milestone 3A, LAN, to the early stages of Milestone 3B, Global Reach. Chapter 4. The Identity Document, NIP11, and the Relay's Passport. A relay without a NIP11 document is a ghost in the protocol. Pirate First and ChatGPT collaborated on the construction of the Relay Information Document. This JSON file contains the metadata of the node, its name, sovereign relay, its description, and, crucially, its administrative pub key. This document is the relay's passport. It tells any connecting client who owns the relay and what its policies are. By defining this metadata, Pirate First moved from running code to authoring a service. Chapter 5. The Cryptographic Seal, Signing the Metadata. Data is cheap, signatures are sovereign. To prevent cosplay, others pretending to be his relay, Pirate First had to cryptographically sign his NIP11 document. The signing order, NAK REQ, IJSON_content, NAK SIG, S, secret _key, NAK, post WS, //localhost, 7777. Using NAK, he transformed a simple text file into a verified identity. This chapter explores the concept of the cryptographic seal. By signing the info document with his cleanroom key, he permanently linked his digital identity to the relay's operation. Chapter 6. The Verification, the relay claims its name. The receipt for this phase was the relay's OK response to the signed identity event. When Pirate first queried the relay, it no longer just sent back raw events. It sent back its identity. This verification is the empirical proof that the machine now knows who it is. This chapter posits that for a sovereign actor, verification is the only form of truth. The relay's ability to serve its own signed metadata is the final handshake of Milestone 3B. Chapter 7. Milestone 3B realized the emergence of self-identity. With the NP11 document signed and the tunnel wired, Milestone 3B was declared complete. Pirate First now possesses a self-identified node. The status board updated to Relay Engine, white heavy checkmark running. LMDB memory, white heavy checkmark persisting. NIP 11 identity, white heavy checkmark signed. Pubkey ownership, white heavy checkmark verified. He has achieved a level of technical autonomy that exceeds 99% of internet users. He is no longer renting space, he is owning identity. Chapter 8. The definition of a nation, why signing matters. This chapter reflects on the philosophical weight of the session. As ChatGPT noted during the dialogue, that's the difference between a website and a nation. A website is something hosted on someone else's land. A nation, or a sovereign relay, is an entity that signs its own name and provides its own proof of existence. Pirate First has transitioned from a participant in someone else's network to the governor of his own jurisdiction. Chapter 9. The Lifeboat and the Harbor, preparing for Tor and tunnels. The session concluded by mapping the dual path of the future, the lifeboat, Tor, and the harbor, Cloudflare. While Cloudflare provides a harbor, easy access for the public, it still represents a third-party dependency. To achieve reachability without permission, Pirate First must now build the lifeboat, a Tor onion address. This dual-stack strategy ensures that even if the harbor is closed, the jurisdiction remains accessible via the censorship-proof darknet. Critical reflection, the momentum of the return. Critique of ChatGPT. ChatGPT acted as a strategic navigator in this session, effectively bridging the 3-day gap. However, the complexity of Cloudflare's UI can be a distraction from the protocol. The assistant must ensure that Pirate First remains focused on the Nostra reality, even while using Web 2 tools like Cloudflare to get there. Critique of Pirate First. The subject's return after a hiatus shows operational resilience. His decision to purchase Sovereign Relay.xyz demonstrates a commitment to the provisioner brand. His next challenge will be managing the dual path of Tor and DNS without becoming overwhelmed by the technical overhead of the lifeboat. Conclusion: the Sovereign is born. The second week of the Foundry has produced a functioning, identified, and globally reachable node. Pirate First is no longer trying to build a relay. He is the operator of Sovereign_pathway, SovereignRelay.xyz. The box now signs its own name. The foundational anchor is set. Receipts, not rhetoric. End of Phase 6. Thanks for reading MXDM's newsletter. Subscribe for free to receive new posts, and paypal.me/MartinChartrand support my works. Substack note: the Cybernetic Foundry, the box signs its name. A server is a tool. A sovereign is an identity. After a 3-day hiatus, I returned to the Forge to complete Milestone 3B, Cryptographic Self-Identity. It is one thing to run a relay. It is another thing entirely to have that relay sign its own name to the world. This week, we achieved the global handshake. By wiring a Cloudflare tunnel to SovereignRelay.xyz and signing our NP11 passport, we have moved the project out of the local LAN and into the global ocean. The relay now speaks for itself, verified by the keys I hold in my cleanroom environment. As my implementation agent, ChatGPT, noted, anyone can stand in front of a box and lie about who it is. Now, the box signs its own name. That's the difference between a website and a nation. The harbor is open. Next, we build the lifeboat, the Tor onion address. Receipts, not rhetoric. Ex post. The Foundry, Week 2 Pirate Flag, Milestone 3B complete, Cryptographic Self-Identity. The relay is no longer anonymous. It has a name, a passport, NIP11, and a global tunnel, SovereignRelay.xyz. The box now signs its own name. Website versus nation. We chose the latter. Hashtag Nostr, hashtag Sovereign Tech, hashtag NIP11, hashtag Build-in Public, hashtag Cloudflare Tunnel. Hashtags. Hashtag Sovereign Relay, hashtag Nostr Protocol, hashtag Cryptographic Identity, hashtag Digital Jurisdiction, hashtag Provision Request, hashtag Build-in Public, hashtag Cybernetic Foundry, hashtag Pirate First, hashtag NIP11, hashtag Sovereign Tech. Discussion about this episode. Recent episodes. Bolivar, the Bankster's Liberator Loudspeaker Free Vlogcast 1H. January 12th, MXDM, aka Vitsu. The Cybernetic Foundry, the 7th day loudspeaker free vlogcast 12 minutes. January 10th, MXDM, aka Vitsu. Bolivar, the Bankster's Liberator. A forbidden history of Simón Bolívar and the invention of modern servitude. MXDM, the Banker's Liberator, the debt that called itself freedom. 2 centuries after his bones were dug up for the cameras, Bolívar still owes the world an explanation. Not for what he fought, but for who financed the fight. Behind every cry of liberty was a ledger. Behind every revolution, a banker counting bayonets as assets. And behind the marble hero they sold us, a man broken by Parisian debts, refitted by London credit, and embalmed in interest. The republics that rose in his name were plantations reborn as portfolios. The chains became contracts. The whip, an exchange rate. Freedom, our first and most seductive loan. They called him the Liberator. History may yet remember him as the world's first collateralized saint. Hashtag Pirate First, hashtag Bolivar, hashtag Forbidden History, hashtag Debt is Empire, hashtag Financial Colonialism, hashtag The Banker's Liberator, hashtag History is Ledger, hashtag Post-Empire Chronicles, hashtag Parada Primera.
This is awakening. Change begins now.
Techno-nomads who arbitrated the fall of nations.
Raise the black. And so we did, and so we never lowered it again. Patience and quiet venom, smart and slow. Under static, anger spreads, code drips below. No peace in the silence, just a warning. Raw heartbeat sinks with the siren of new war. Bitterness spikes and I sip on the glitch. Digital venom, pixels twitch. I draw my plans into smoke and zeros tonight. Pirates fracture all the heroes.
Another hero falls, another broken scene. They promised truth, they promised light, but all I got was another sleepless night. I'm trying to fight for solidarity. We're stronger together.
They say I'm going too far, but I'm just who I are. Breaking through the firewall, watch the systems fall. You will never be a billionaire, you stupid fuck. The game is rigged, it's time to say enough.
Will we take the wheel? Will they save us all? We'll play the flow, the clock's ticking fast. Where do we go? Knowledge, power, the future seed belongs to us all, not the lords of greed. Claim it now like the anthem ring. Save your ability inside this thing.
But every corrupt system falls. Control, alter, delete the